Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM. In the city of Abeokuta, this is the voice of the people and citizens forum. This morning we will be talking about money, finances, and how it is generated and spent here in Ogun State. Well, it's not over yet. We are still looking at the administration 6 year of the Governor Amosun-led administration in Ogun State 2011 to 2016. No doubt there are remarkable, visible, recorded achievements of the administration if you look at it from 2011 to 2016. For those who are students of history and public analysts following events, you will recall that before his inauguration in 2011, the belief, the talk, which was also amplified and confirmed by the then administration before his, was that nothing can be done in Ogun State without going and borrowing. Yes, that was the belief, that was the statement, that bond will be taken, loans will be taken. Indeed, yes, loans has been taken really, but if you look at how it has been spent, where they have been spent, there are issues one will want to discuss. Some will want to applaud it, some will want to give thumb down for it. Whichever position, you are free to hold on to your position rightly or wrongly. Well, government is always run with money, compulsory. And like some economists or many of the economists will say, there's nothing wrong in government borrowing in as much as that borrowing, that money is spent judiciously. Financial re-engineering, that's what this administration told us when it was coming in 2011. So we'll be looking at the financial experts analysis of the finances or how the administration led by Ibikunle Amosun has been able to go so far 6 years into his administration. Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I'm Tobi Joseph, the person that will be able to do this dutifully and, of course, with all the required expertise this morning. It's a senior citizen of Ogun State, a financial expert, and, of course, an FCA, an FNIM, Chief Samson Odebo. You're welcome to the Daybreak Show once again, Chief Odebo.
Oh, thank you, everybody at home and listeners.
All right, Chief Odebo. It's a whole lot of issues that we want to look at this morning. But let's start with the situation on ground when this administration came in 2011 and how it has been able to implement its rebuilding mission or program and policies. Can we take a peep into the 2011 and 12 budget to see how that affected and shaped the administration of Senator Ibikunle Amosun?
Thank you very much. Listeners and everybody at home, I thank you. Well, what we want to do this morning is really to look into the 6-year administration of Senator Ibikunle Amosun's administration, a financial analyst perspective of the situation. Before I go into 2011 and 2012, let me just say at the onset that we are here to objectively look at the financial analysis and how Senator Ibikunle Amosun has been able to manage finances of the state to really add value to Ogun State. We are not going to say that is the best option that he has adopted, but we want to look at the way and means he has been able to achieve what he has achieved. That is the objective of this this program. So let me say by saying that initially Senator Ibikunle Amosun has been consistently focused, resolutely and irrevocably committed to his irreversible mission in rebuilding Ogun State. There's no doubt that he has added unprecedented value and far-reaching lasting legacies to Ogun State with quality standards that can stand the test of time. So when we talk of the cardinal mission programs, we know there are 5, and I don't want to repeat that. In addition to his commitment to all these cardinal programs, he has, to a reasonable extent, be able to pay personnel costs, the state pensions, consolidated revenue charges, and public debt charges. Aside the fact that he has been able to implement so many projects that are far-reaching in the state, let us first of all look at the challenges he has been facing over the years. There has been a sort of what you call dwindling statutory allocation from federation accounts, despite the fact that the state, that is Ogun State, contributed immensely to the non-oil revenue at the federal level. I think it's second to Lagos State in terms of that. When we talk of contribution of states to the federation account in terms of the non-oil revenue, Ogun is number 2. Then he has been able to another constraint he is now facing is the deduction of bailout fund at source through the irrevocable standing order with 9% interest over 20 years. The debt burden obligation in respect of the short-term commercial bank loan converted to federal government bond. You know, initially it has been able to use short-term fund to implement long-term projects, which in financial parlance might not be too good, because by the time the short-term loans become matured, the long-term project that he has used the money to do might not have been able to materialize to pay the debt. But the succor came when these short-term loans were converted to FG bond. So what are the militating strategies?
Let's get this. When short-term loans were converted to FG bond, is it a complete write-off of that money?
No, it is not a complete. No, it's not a complete write-off. Number one, in the first instance, the interest rate will reduce. Number 2 is a way of restructuring the loan. It means that you have a longer term to pay the loan. The maturity will be longer. The tenure will be longer. Then the interest rate will be is shorter.
But in one simple word, the loan is still there.
It's still there. It's now a long-term loan being now phased out and being paid in respect of what we call debt management and debt burden obligation. Then what are the militating strategies? He has been able to put appropriate financial measures in place to really check the wastages. Consistently, he has been able to grow the IDR.
Which wastages are we talking about?
We are talking
where are the wastages?
We are talking of loopholes in revenue generation. We are talking of loopholes in expenditure. He has been able to control expenditure to a reasonable extent, that is reducing the expenditure, and then he has been able to plug the loopholes in terms of what comes into the government purse in terms of revenue generation. So he has been able to put appropriate financial control measures.
But some people will say this is at the detriment of heavy taxes and other financial imposition on the citizenry.
We will talk about that later, but let us, so that the thing can flow, so that we talk about that. It might be, it may not be, because if you look at what most of the taxi drivers are now saying, they are now saying that in terms of commercial activity, they are now getting more passengers now. For example, I left Olomori at 8:34 this morning, and by 9 o'clock, I am here. If it were in the olden days, I would not have been able to make it. The journey has taken just a shorter time. That is reduction in man hour, reduction and so many other things. Now, another thing that he has been able to do is that he has been able to grow the idea to at least finance the recurrent expenditure with a comfortable financial stability index. What do I mean by financial stability index? I mean that the extent to which the revenue generation, the IGR, has been able to cover the recurrent expenditure. He has been able to do that over the years. For example, in 2012, when he came in, the Financial Stability Index, which I've explained earlier, was only 73.17%. Whereas in 2013, it grew to 78.9%. In 2014, 91.1%. And in 2015, 107.99%.
What does it indicate?
It indicates that it implies that he has been able to use the IGR to manage the recurrent expenditure. And what I mean by recurrent expenditure is that payment of salaries, payment of overhead expenses, and so on and so forth. He has been able to do that. And then when it came to 2015, has been able to generate more revenue to cover the recurrent expenditure, and then leave something again to really finance the project. That's 107.99, which is almost 108. In 2016, it was 107, and in 2017, the thing has been projected to 111%, which means that comfortably he has been able to grow the IGR. I think presently on the average is now getting about 7 billion per month IGR. So if you look at that area, we say we're a bit comfortable. Then if you look at the budget size, it has been moderate over the years, 200.45 billion naira to 221.13 in 2017. The capital has been larger than the expenditure, than the recurrent, which has 55, and 56 in 2014, 56% in 2015, almost 50% in 2016, and 53.5% in 2017. The actual performance has been always above 60%. For example, in 2012, 63%, in 2013, about 64%, and then in 2016, as at 31st December 2016, the budget performance was 56.2. And I know that if you now projected it to about December, it will be in the neighborhood of over 60. So he has been able to do this, and he has been able to achieve what we call economic growth and social well-being of the people. Another area we have to look into is the early passage of the budget. In 2017, budget of repositioning was signed into law on 29/12/16. Then ditto for all other areas, 2015, 2014, 2013, and 2012, which means he has been consistently passed the budget before the following year.
All right, can we then look at the budget performance, passing it fine, then how has it been implemented?
Like I said,
in terms of the analysis and the rating of the projections in the budget provisions.
That's what I'm saying. For example, in 2012, the actual performance was 63%. Then in 2013, 64.2%. And in 2016, that we are talking about, as at 31st October, it was 56.2%. Which means
so averaging about 60%.
Averaging about 60%.
Why can't we, or why can't the government, the administration, move it higher to say about 80+%, which will give a very comfortable performance figure?
Yes.
Or indication.
Yes, I agree with you. But in the means of dwindling revenue from the federation account, that has been a sort of tall order because of the recession.
But why the federation allocation was going down, the IGR
was going up, but the IGR has been used to cover the recurrent expenditure over the years.
Odebo, let us focus a bit about on the IGR. Actually, a lot of people believe that Ogun State still holds more potential as regards IGR. Would you say we are really tapping that potential enough?
Yes, I will say yes, because there is a period of gestation that you know when projects are established or are done. it will leave some time before the revenue from those projects can come in. For example, in terms of the infrastructure and some other things that we are talking about, the inflow, the capital inflow in terms of industries that have been established are now growing. It has reached almost maybe 40 or so that I have said. From all these industries we are talking about, people, employees there, they have to pay their payee taxes to Ogun State, which is a source of revenue. They have to pay other sources or other revenue to Ogun State government, so that as they come in and then they don't stabilize, the revenue being generated from all these areas that we're talking about will be increasing, and it will increase the IGR over the years. So that's one area. Like we said now, the taxi drivers are now saying they are getting more people to convey here and there. So if there is what we call established procedure for tax payments, then the taxes from these people will also increase. When people become more comfortable and more employed, revenue will come from all these areas. So that is how to grow the revenue. So what it's now doing now, we can say, is sort of laying foundation for future, for the economic growth, social development that will enhance the IGR.
What can be improved upon in your own experience? What can be improved upon as regards IGR and as regards implementation of projects that are proposed in the budget?
Yeah. Number one, open up the rural communities with art roads and connect them to the newly constructed roads that transfer the various areas of the state. That's one area. Step down energy, power with provision of transformers to stimulate value chain economic activities. That is, establishment of mini mega power generating plants. Another area is that you make adequate provision for counterpart funding projects to attract and optimize more revenue for development. That is, e.g., access to medium, small scale enterprises fund, agric, water, health project that can attract counterpart funding. Do that. Another area is that greater priority should be given to revenue generating expenditure projects. Then adopt aggressive tax audits and voluntary tax compliance approach to enhance tax collection to continually boost IGR. Then address the problem of multiple taxes. Then in area of water generation, I will suggest that aspect should be broken into about three. One, transmission and distribution. Break the activities and provide booster stations with power generating plants through public-private partnership. What I mean is that concentrate on water generation, leave transmission and distribution to the private people, so that they can come in, take the water from the generation point, then somebody will take it from that place to a booster station, and somebody will take it from a booster station to the homes. Like in Olomore, there could be somebody there who will now take the water from that booster station to distribute to the people. That will enhance effectiveness of this area. Then revamp and optimize Odeda Farm Institute and affiliate it to a college of agric to train agric extension workers. Then another area is this: you establish commodity board to relieve farmers from marketing challenges with provision of silos.
Would that not create another bureaucracy coming in as
I don't think so. It has been done in the past. The major problem of farmers in Nigeria is how to distribute their farm products. You see, if you leave that one in the hands of some people, they go to the farms, buy all these products from them, and then the commodity board will now can now sell at, if there's a need to sell at subsidized rates to people. That will be a direct subsidy to the people. I'm not saying they should be doing that all the time, that they're selling it at subsidized rates all the time. But if there's a need for them, if the prices are too high, they can do that and subsidize the prices to the people. So the farmers will be relieved of marketing their products, and then they will concentrate on the production. Then fortification of primary health centers so that people can have access to affordable health care. Then another area is that, which concerns other areas, human capital development, training and retraining of staff to meet emerging global professional challenges. Establish what we call civil service training school, and then upgrade it to civil service college. And then there must be a sort of what we call cross-breeding of staff, either on secondment or on exchange programs, because I am a beneficiary of that by the grace of God. I came from the private sector. I worked in the parastatal. On secondment, I work in the mainstream of the service as treasury coordinator, and on secondment, I work as sole administrator in the local government. So that gave me a sort of leverage and experience and exposure. Then, harmonization of monthly pension of senior citizens who retired before the minimum wage implementation in August 2011 in accordance with Section 210 and 173 of the Constitution. And then address payment of staff deductions.
Exactly. Yes, you, just like so many other people out there, agreeing with you that in terms of road construction, he has done well, and in terms of his ability to manage the finances, one can also say yes, he passed in his assessment. However, a lot is still being argued, and so many people are so pained that in the area of human welfare, just like you said, for senior citizens, even for public workers, that he still needs to do so much, has not been able to use those financial resources and wizardry to solve the problems of that area. What do you think is responsible, and how do you think he can do this?
Yes, what is responsible is the fact that the IGR was not sufficient to really meet the colossal sums that we are talking about. I think the approach or the strategy, let me say, that he was adopting was to ensure that he pays something regularly in terms of wages and salaries to people. It is not that the money is actually there. If you look at it, the money comes in trickles, and as soon as the money comes in trickles, they now use whatever is available to pay the staff.
That's the point. Some people are saying
that's what he has been doing.
Inability to appropriately prioritize.
Yes, I'm not saying it's the best option, but I think at that point in time, maybe that is the best option for him to be able to at least move forward. Sorry. You see, the other areas that he could have touched is the CTCS and some other areas. Well, I believe that he's going to address that issue because he has said it, that the deductions of staff salaries is going to be addressed instrumentally. I'm not saying that is the best option, but at least he has been able to use that strategy to move the nation forward and to ensure that the staffers and pensioners actually get something. For example, in the issue of pensioners, you see, when he got to know that some pensioners are earning less than 5,000 naira per month, he quickly addressed the issue. You see, he did not make it public because he didn't want the public to see it as if he has actually addressed the issue of harmonization of pensions. He quickly raised it to 5,000 naira per month. At least he has done that one. And then the issue of harmonization that we are talking about is before him. He has accepted in principle, and he has said that as soon as he gets money, he will address that issue. Another area that has to be contended with is the issue of gratuity payment. Initially, he has adopted a policy which is at variance with the existing policy of those people that retired on pay as you go.
So can you say that policy has worked or it backfired?
No, that policy to a reasonable extent has worked, because many people are now paid gratuity. And then our view as pensioners is that what he has paid and what he ought to have been paid according to the law should be regarded as a liability and should be considered for payment.
All right, Chief Odebo, let us look at another area, which is the area of taxation. That is one major component of IGR, which you know that in Nigeria of today, a lot of people still evade tax, and very few people are in the tax net. So those that are bank sure, or those who are very who can't really escape the tax net are majorly civil servants and public servants, and of course those in the private sector. How can this net be expanded to be able to capture those who are supposed to also pay tax, rather than leaving it to those that we have mentioned earlier, especially business owners and MSMEs?
Yeah, thank you. I think what we have to do, let's talk about artisans, the SMS, and some other areas. You see, what could be done in terms of artisans? I think there's a program in place whereby the artisans are now categorized, and then they are given maybe minimum tax to be paid, and that one has been in place. For the SMS that we are talking about, you see, the SMS cannot pay tax unless they make profit. And that is why we are saying that the SMS and some other areas, businesses, the cost of production must be reduced. And when there is the issue of power is resolved, I think to a reasonable extent, it will now reduce the cost of production of this SMS we're talking about. Another area is accessibility to finance. So when those areas are now addressed, the SMS will now be more comfortable to generate profit, and the profit can now be taxed. Another area is that the SMS that we are talking about will be able to employ more people, and then when more people are employed, it means that the PG will also be enhanced. These are the areas that he has to look into. Then I talked about aggressive tax audit. There are a number of people that can comfortably pay taxes, but they are not doing it. So that is why the tax officials must go out to really look into their books and then audit it and then assess whatever needed to be paid. In short, what I'm trying to say is that when economic activities are boosted, when the social life of the people becomes comfortable, people will be willing to pay taxes. For example, let's take the issue of water and energy. You see, if water is constantly supplied in this state or in this country, people will be willing to pay the water bill. I'm only looking at one, doing that as an analogy. And then when electricity is supplied to people, people are willing to pay. But when electricity is not supplied and people are being billed here and there, the resistance to pay will be there. So what I'm trying to say is that when the economic activities, the social life of the people becomes comfortable, they will be willing. Most of them will be willing to.
Now, Chief Odebo, beyond this taxation and tax auditing drive, one area that people have also talked about openly, publicly in fora is the proximity of Ogun to Lagos, the financial advantage, the business advantage. From your experience and as a financial manager, will you say we have done enough to benefit from this proximity and the advantages therein?
Yeah, to a reasonable extent, we have. Because initially, those people that are working in Lagos and living in Ogun State usually pay their taxes to Lagos State. But as during the tenure of Senator Amosun's administration, there has been a sort of a working arrangement whereby people that are working in Lagos but are living, especially at the border areas of Ogun State, do pay their taxes to Ogun State, because that is the law law of taxation.
No, that I said beyond the issue of taxes
Yes.
and taxation, other opportunities that are there, have we been able to tap into them? I know
Like,
this is the one about, well, people have talked about exchange, inter-business relationship exchange, even public transportation, and like you said, water, which Lagos has been able to reasonably curtailed. I'm sure beyond the taxes of human, you're looking at the human population there. What other things do you think we should have done or we have done successfully apart from the tax? Housing is also there, that's something one can tap into, and all
yes.
those ones.
I think he has done well in housing because there are so many estates that he has constructed. In area of allocating people, you see the Kara market. I think
Because
he has.
I'm talking of having to entice people
Yes.
working, living in Lagos
To come down
to
to.
see Ogun as a better place to live and work.
Yes. Number one, in terms of security, Ogun State is better. And that is why most people now do now come to Ogun State, especially weekend. And that is why most people are now living in Ogun State, because security wise, he has done well in that area. Another area is in terms of housing. You see, houses in Ogun State are far, far cheaper than houses in Lagos State. So,
Is that because of a government policy or because that difference, the open gap has always been there between Lagos and Ogun? Lagos seen as a more advanced place than Ogun, and therefore houses has for a long time, when you compare it to other states,
yes.
been high.
Yes, you see, when you look at Lagos, the totality of Lagos, availability of land in Lagos is less than availability of land in
In
Ogun
Ogun.
State. Then
That's true.
another area is that, Lagos State came to Ogun State to establish, is it rice or clinical and some other things. These are the areas of collaboration between Ogun and Lagos. These are the areas where they can now work together. So that then in terms of road, look at the traffic between Ibadan, Ogun axis, as well as Lagos axis. Look at what his administration has done before the reconstruction of the road. He has been able to ease the congestion along that area. Then make the roads that are being constructed around Akute and some other areas too. These are collaborative efforts. People will be able to move faster from Ogun State to that place, and then this will enhance transportation of people from Ogun. You see, when all these infrastructures are really in place, people can really work, live in Ogun State, and then go to their work in
Because we'll be
Lagos.
talking about Lagos and the
Yes.
Lagos border donor, let me give you some specific examples now. If you look at the Mowe Ibafo axis, the Ogijo Ikorodu axis, and then the Agbado Songo axis, which are the three main entry points or border points between Lagos and Ogun, you will realize that the rate in which population in that area is growing is very fast. If you check out the current PVC INEC registration, which is the only official thing we can use, at least so that since there is no census, this will confirm the growth of this population of this area. And if you go to those areas I've mentioned, you see that life is becoming a replica of Lagos, where things are always on the fast move, things are high, and then estate, of course, of business is high. Has Ogun left these areas for Lagos to
No.
develop, or just or for it to develop at the whims and caprices of those who have migrated from Lagos to these areas?
These are the potential areas where the administration must extend their eyes to cover. So all these areas you are mentioning, they are newly developed. When I say newly developed, they are being expanded population wise. People are moving from Lagos to those areas, and that is the more reason why this administration we now have to extend its rebuilding mission program to those areas in terms of road construction, in terms of housing facilities, and many other things that will make the people to be comfortable. If those people are comfortable in terms of tax and some other things, we have to benefit from it. In totality, what I'm trying to say is that what he has been doing to some areas that are Akuti and some other areas that we're talking about should now be replicated in those areas for people to be more comfortable in those, because these areas belong to Ogun State, and if they belong to Ogun State, they have to be developed for social and economic benefit of the people, because government is for the people. Without people, there can never be governance. So what we are saying is that there's concentration in terms of rural development, which is now trying to do in the next 2 years, especially if you look at the 2017 budget, is now devoted on developing rural areas and some other areas. So these areas should also be attended to, so that people in those areas can become more comfortable, and then they'll be able to pay taxes to the revenue of the state.
Before we take the break, time, what's your opinion about inaugurating or having a new town development authority or a new town development board by Ogun State or Lagos and Ogun State?
New town development board
or new town development authority.
Well,
look at all these areas.
For now, I will not totally agree to that, because we have enough institutions in place that can do that. For example, we have the Housing Corporation, we have the OPIC. What is
Ogun Property Investment?
Ogun Property Investment.
What those ones are doing is like they are more of a private public company.
I think we also have Ministry of Housing in place now. You see, if you have to do that one now, I think it will incur more expenditure than what we are going to incur. These agencies of government that we have mentioned can look into those areas. Housing Corporation can go into that. Housing Corporation has what we call housing estates. The OPIC has what we call housing estates, so that the various agencies of government that are in place now should be able to do that. And then when houses are built and so, then the issue of new town development authority can come in, because if they come in at this stage, what are they going to do? How are they going to finance the project when Housing Corporation, Minister of Housing, and then we have OPIC and so are already on ground?
Let's situate this. I'm still talking about having to formally develop some areas. Okay, we've just been talking about border areas. Let's look at the inner city. Let's look at Okeata, Idiori areas. Let's look at these sizes: Obatoko, Akpete, Aziz, which are. Let's also look at the Randa, as the Gora, Okeogun, Aziz of the state. These are areas where one will also notice a boom and increased population of those areas. How don't you, and people in that area are complaining of government neglect?
Yes. You see, the areas we have to look into now is a local government. The local government must be fortified, because there's a lot of work for local government in those areas. The CDAs, community development associations, will have to come in too. For example, there are the arch roads that I'm talking about, in terms of roads that will connect communities to the main road, are supposed to be maintained and constructed by local government. I believe if the local government are fortified, and then they are able to carry out, to show their responsibilities in conjunction with whatever the state government and the federal government is doing in those areas, I believe those areas will be addressed. You see, when you look at Okeata has an housing estate. It has an housing estate. What they need to do there is construction and maintenance of good roads to those areas.
All right, Tifadebo, we will have time to look more into this, but let's take this break to allow the national news to come up at 10 o'clock. After that, we'll still have Chief Odebo a financial analyst doing an appraisal of the 6 years of Amosun in the financial sector. Don't go anywhere. Hey, thanks for still being there. Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abeokuta. Yes, it's the Daybreak Show Citizens Forum this morning, looking at doing a financial analysis of the 6 years of the Ibikunle Amosun-led administration in Ogun State. And with us is a senior citizen, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Chartered Accountants, a fellow of the Institute of Management, Chief Samson Odebo. Together we have been looking at the pros and cons, the gains and possible other areas in which the administration can explore. Let's round this segment up before we open the telephone for you, our listener, to be a part of it. But keep sending your messages via the short code dial 32120. You only have to type ROCK rock first before you type your message and send it to 32120. The Twitter handle is also there, and of course our Facebook page is also there for you to use before we open the telephone lines. Chief Odebo, say in 2 minutes, let's address, we're looking at the issue of the need to tackle the growing population and new areas developing in the state vis-a-vis maximizing the opportunity of the proximity of Ogun to Lagos.
Yes, I think we have addressed that by saying that those are the areas that the administration should also look into. But then if you look at the 2017 budget, I think the 2017 budget will really cover those areas we are talking about. Because if you look at it critically, the rural and infrastructure development stroke employment generation will take 44.20 billion naira, which is 19.99% of the total budget size, and it is second to education, which is 21.28. So what I'm trying to say is that the 2017 budget has laid emphasis on rural development. And another area that I want us to look at is that when all hope seemed lost, contractors suddenly reappeared at the various project sites with strength, vigor, and vitality. What I mean by that is that, you know, initially people have actually lost hope that this administration might not be able to complete the ongoing project, but suddenly we now saw the reappearance of contractors. So that will give a sort of confidence to the populace that this administration will not renege on completing the ongoing projects. Then the 2017 budget that I've talked about, rural and infrastructure development will take a larger chunk of the budget. You see, those areas we're talking about, I think they need to be addressed. For example, if Ilaro, Owode, and Agbara Road is opened up, it will ease congestion around this area to Lagos. Like the issue of Okeata, which is a community on its own, if the roads are constructed and maintained, I think it will ease the pains and the agony of those areas. Then, if the issue of roundabout, I mean Lafenwa, Duranda, and even Obantoku, you see, I think if those areas are addressed too, and the rural community that I've said earlier, that the arch roads must be well constructed to really connect them to the already established roads, and even the various communities must be connected. Look at Odeda. Odeda has a vast land. So if the communities are linked together in those areas, it will ease the transportation of goods and so many other things. It will less the cost of goods and things that you're talking about. Now, the strategy that I want to recommend is that the local governments are very, very close to these areas. The local government should be empowered to create and establish art roads in these various communities. And even the zonal town planning authorities should have to come in and ensure that those areas are well located, so that in future there will be no need to really maybe demolish houses here and there to construct roads.
All right, Chief Odebo, let me also find out from you. We'll soon open the telephone line. Your advice and then possible analysis on the so much talked about expected Paris uh, loan refund.
The second tranche.
Yeah, the second tranche. Well, let's have your expert analysis on how
those
this
areas,
money should actually be used.
I think in order to ease the yoke of the people, larger chunk of that money should be used to defray arrears of wages and salaries to workers and their contributions. To the pensioners, they should be used to address the issue of pensions. Why am I saying this? When I say pensioners, I mean immunization and some other areas. Why am I saying this? Because if those people are uh, are liquid enough, they will be able to influence the community. Their purchasing power will be enhanced, and then the issue of goods and services, commercial activities.
What about completing some of those projects that are on?
I think for the completion of those projects that are on, I think he has sufficient money for now. He has analyzed sufficient money. There's an instrument to borrow about almost 60 something billion.
So you are in support of using that money?
I am in support of using that money to ease the pains of the people, and then because this one will actually enhance the social and the social status of the people.
All right. Okay. Time for us to get you involved in the program. 0809-86-87344.
Says, well done to our Mibu governor. Kindly approve harmonization and the payment of arrears of 6 and 5% to pensioners since 2003 and 2007 when you received the Paris fund. That's Shuaga. Chief Odebo should please help us appeal to Governor Amosun to forgive all pensioners their sins and pay their May monthly pensions, and also effect harmonization of the pensions as he had earlier promised. We are tired of signing condolence registers. That's coming from Mr. Olawale in Abeokuta. Sunday Oboli from Ilaro says, though some of his works are appreciated, but in our axis, we do not feel the effect of this government in the area of infrastructure. We plead that this administration look in our direction and do something. Ilaro Owode, Ato Agbara, Owode Adodo, Ikoga roads have become nightmares. God bless you, state. What exactly is Paris loan refund? Please let your guests explain it for the public's benefits. As Cosmos. Mr. Governor should please respond to the call for destiny and responsibility and so pay up all salaries in terms of deductions with help from the workers, as well pay the elders. Otherwise, the pensioners, their correct and accurate dues. So if we must own up to responsibility, the big issue of non-payment of deductions of pensioners should be paramount to the governor. They sent in that one. Akimwaba says, when the past budget didn't affect us positively, how can we then believe that this 2017 budget will have any positive impact on the masses? All right, we want to quickly react.
Yes, okay, thank you. I think most of the things said here are comments. So let me start with Alhaji Omitobi. The area that I want to talk about is deductions of workers' salary. Like I said earlier, it is a strategy to ensure that salaries are paid regularly, that he has adopted and committed himself to the payment of only the net salaries. Like I said earlier, it is not that the money is there en bloc, but as a result of commitment to ensure that salaries are paid, the government has adopted that policy. Deductions of workers' salary without paying them is not good for the people. I've said that one earlier. But I also said that I'm sure that the administration is committed to the payment of these deductions. And that is why the governor has said many times that in terms of the Paris loan money, as soon as he gets more money, he'll be able to address those areas. But let me say one thing here. It appears to me that the unions are not doing enough in these areas. You see, when deductions are not paid, the first month, second month, third month, fifth month, I think they should have appealed to His Excellency and reach a sort of dialogue between the unions and the government to ensure that these things do not accumulate to that number of months that they are saying. I don't know whether they have been doing that in the past, but the long and short thing about it is that I am sure the administration is committed to the payment of these deductions. Now, let me now talk about Akin Omo Akin. Issues of human development, like I said earlier, should be addressed. The issue of minimum wage, harmonization of pensioners' salary. Now, harmonization of pensioners' salaries is a constitutional matter, and I don't know why this issue has not been addressed over the years. If you look at section 210 or 2 it says that as soon as civil service salaries are increased, that of the pensioners must also be addressed in conjunction with the minimum wage. But this has not been done over the years. The implication of this is that most of the pensioners that retire before the minimum wage of August 2011, I believe, are now getting 1/3 of what they are supposed to be getting. And if we have to talk about rights, we can say that government is owing these people the difference between what is being paid now and what ought to have been paid as far back as August. That is the simple legal interpretation. But I believe the administration is aware of this, and the administration is addressing the issue of harmonization, so that very soon, as the administration has promised, the issue of harmonization will be taken cognizance of. The issue of 33% that we are talking about, you see, this is my own personal view about it. If the issue of harmonization is addressed fully and totally, I think it will cover the issue of 33%. But if the issue of 33% is addressed, it will not address the issue of harmonization fully, which means that if 33% is addressed, the issue of harmonization will still be in abeyance. But if the issue of harmonization is addressed, the issue of 33% will also be taken along with it. The point I'm making here is that those two issues are now outstanding, and the administration has promised that he will look into that. Now, minimum wage and pensioners. You see, if you look at that constitutional provision, which has not been done over the years, when a committee is set up to look into the issue of minimum wage, the NUP, Nigerian Union of Pensioners in the state or at the federal level, must have been included in that committee, and this one has never taken place before. So I'm now recommending or advising that constitutionally, whenever a committee is set up to review the wage, whether at the federal level, at the state level, since the constitution says that they should be taken along in conjunction, I believe that a member of NUP must be on that committee to address the right of pensioners. Kola Oluwabi,
Yes.
talks about IGR performance, I agree. Talks about non-oil generation, contribution of the state, I think I've mentioned that. But in terms of contribution of non-oil revenue to the federation account, Ogun is number 2. And if you have to review the issue of this allocation formula, I think that area should also be addressed. And then, since it's a derivation, I think that aspect too should be taken into consideration, that any state that contribute that contributes more to the federation account should also be given higher percentage in terms of that. Event centers, I believe there should be an aggressive tax collection, and I believe the tax authority are looking into that. Agric, production of cash crops, and so I think I've mentioned that those areas should also be looked into. Dr. Income talked about the market in Shapon. The way I look at the market in Shapon and other areas are a way of market convergence, and I believe in future we'll be able to appreciate what he has done in those areas. But the issue of allocation of these stores has been agitated by some people, should be addressed. The Okada riders, in order to generate revenue from them, and even it's not only Okada riders, even the various vehicles, they do not maintain lanes, which can never take place in Lagos. As soon as you don't maintain a lane, if you want to go to the left, I think you should be able to move to the left when you reach the road. What is it? This light construction. You see people crossing from left to right, and so. This borders on what we call traffic discipline. I think those areas should be addressed, not only for the Okada riders, for all users of the road. Honorable Anrejaji, road and bridges concentration concept for agric. He said he has a concept for agriculture. I think he should be able to address the issue of concept for agriculture, and I believe that if he forwards such a thing to his excellency or the administration to me will look into it. Now, somebody talked about deductions of worker salary. I think I've addressed that. Loans and debts of the government. You see, I'm not averse to taking loans, but what the loan is being used for is the most important aspect. And then when you talk of loans should be a percentage of GDP, and then it should not go beyond that. Then monthly pension for May. We are now in June. Today is 8. I think the administration will be addressing issue of payment of pensions regularly, and I think very soon, before next week runs out, I am very sure that the administration will pay May pensioners. Rural areas concentration, I think I've addressed that. Paris loan refund, deductions are being made at source from allocation to various states in the federation. There was a time we were forgiving certain debts during the time of Obasanjo. So those areas are now being worked. So when they are now worked together, the Paris Club that we are talking about are association of creditors that are owed certain amount of money overseas. They came together as a group, and they are known as Paris Club. So that is why the word Paris loan refund actually come into being. You see, what we are now saying is that these various loans have been over-deducted from the federation account due to states, and since the thing is now being reconciled, and then we now discover that certain amount of over-deducted
from
and that is what is now being referred as Paris loan refund. So the Paris loan refund does not need to be repaid back by the state. There are over deductions in the past that have been given. Then somebody talked about the implementation of 2016-2017 budget. I believe, like I said earlier, he said rural concentration. Then let me talk of one particular aspect of this administration. What I want to talk about is the Larnica concept of strategic management has been paying off. Governor Amosun will go here to look at budget style and so. He has been doing that perfectly, and I want to give it to him that it's a new concept of strategic management, which I also adopted at Ikene when I was here.
Okay, thank you. Can we just continue with the messages to me?
Lumide for Jones to say good morning. When you talk about housing and this current administration, how many civil servants can buy such outrageous houses with huge amounts ranging from 12 million to 20 million? no gratuity, no payment of corporate deductions, and no access to bank loan. May God help civil servants. Another says, well, that is why uh, we have lies everywhere. Local government gratuity is not yet paid since 2012, and we have been lied to. The federal government, we have been lied to that the federal government has paid. Tajuddin from Abdaton says that. Well done, amiable governor. Kindly approve harmonization and payment of arrears of 6 and 5% to pensioners when you receive the parish fund. Sure, I sent that message twice. Akimo Baba says, I commend the guests to the house for the good job. Your submission shows that you prepare well for this broadcast. All right. This one says, if you're a governor and you want to build shops for people, which kind of shop would you build? Akimo Baba is asking that question. And this comment was posted on our Facebook page by Suraka Abdulhamid Abiodun. I want to salute the efforts of Senator Buklamuso's administration for the last 6 years in terms of road construction. No doubt this man has solved the problem of the state and is likely to have 100 years to come, just like what Lagos State is experiencing. But I want to implore the government to ensure that all other roads are completed and that other sectors of the economy should not be left unattended to. All right.
Let's start.
Agreement says recently, May, Ogun State government paid May salaries to some workers, while some were paid. Why and what or what can you say about it, sir? Well, Taiwo Tolulokwe says the high cost of living and crime rate in Lagos is as a result of overcrowding, which is associated with industrialized cities. Abeokuta has been peaceful and cheap and has nothing to do with economic indices. The government must create opportunities and encourage small industries. That's Taiwo Tolulokwe. Odumade Luashon says houses cheaper in Ogun State. That's a capital no for me. All right, Yemi Da Vinci says, in my opinion, I believe the finances of the infrastructure project across Ogun could have been much more cheaper. Cheaper projects will have freed up more money to use in other important sectors like education and health. Thus, I'll only give the administration of the Amosun a grudging 70% because of the loans and bonds hanging like the sword of Damocles on our necks. Chief Samson Odebo, do you think that the money being spent on the so-called Tele Road is being judicially spent? Akrede Camille says many Ogun people still do not genuinely believe all these road constructions will be completed before 2019. Can you give any assurance? What's the current debt profile of the state? So the people really want to know. Mayor of God says, I bid you for a good job, well done. I have gotten some of your submission and I can get you very well. But please permit me to ask that is the education sector not bringing or generating any revenue to the government? Because I noticed you have not mentioned the means by which government generate revenue for most schools, especially the private ones, and which have noticed that this sector is really profiting the government, and the government is not trying to ease the burdens on them. Instead, the government is imposing much levy on them, which is also affecting the effectiveness of this sector. Akrede Kami once again says that the past 6 years, what we have in terms of the state financial management isn't that buoyant, but there's room for improvement. So, whatever you have just 2
Yes,
minutes.
you have 10
just 2
seconds.
minutes, 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Let me
yes.
just comment on houses. We are talking comparatively in terms of rent of houses in Lagos. That's why you say it's cheaper in Ogun than in Lagos State. Then there are so many areas that needed to be addressed.
There's somebody particularly who says it is agreed that it's because of the IGR. It's because of this proximity with Lagos that increases the IGR.
No.
It's not so.
It's not so. It's because the administration has now improved on the capability of the state to generate revenue. That is the simple answer to that question.
All right, yes, this is where we have to end it for the day, for the week on Citizens Forum. But keep the debate going on our Facebook, the Twitter handle, and of course our short code 32120. Tomorrow is an open day on the program. Dele Ayodo is my name. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria. God bless Rock City.
Thank you very much, Chief Samson Odebo, for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. I am Tobi Joseph.